got some whitetail I killed a couple years ago in Idaho. I've got elk from my bull from last year, my elk from my bull this year, and the magical goat meat. But some people like to claim that other things taste better than others. We are going to do a blind taste test with an individual who was not raised eating wild game and does not have as sensitive of a palate. So we can find out when we want to pass this stuff off to people that poo-poo it. We're going to know what to feed them, and they won't be any the wiser. Or we'll make them change their mind, hopefully. Okay, so when preparing wild game, especially for somebody that's not a game eater, they will often complain about it being tough, especially on an old animal, it's all tough and chewy. Well, that's not true. It's how you handle it. But depending on how you either cut it yourself, if you're that kind of person, or if for whatever reason you choose to take it to a professional, they may or may not leave some of this on. They may leave too much of it on. Or if you process your own game, like I did this deer, I intentionally left it on. Now, the reason for that is when you store game meat in the freezer for a long time, or anything in the freezer, it has a tendency to develop freezer burn. Freezer burn will ruin meat, and it's gross, and you're going to end up cutting it off and throwing it away anyway. So, knowing that this was going to be in the freezer a while, I left this silver skin on. So any part that does get freezer burned is just the stuff I'm going to throw away already. And it's not too different from filleting a fish, because once you get it started, you just kind of run your knife right along with the edge towards the silver skin. And you shouldn't cut towards yourself, so kids don't try this at home. But I'm a professional, remember that. And you just keep going, working your way along till all that ickiness is gone. This stuff is so tough, actually. This is what the Native Americans would use to make their strings for their bows. They'd lay this stuff out in the sun and then beat it with a rock until it frayed up, and then they would wind it and twist it together to make a string. That's an honest to God fact. I'm not making that up. So trust me, if you can make a bowstring out of it, you probably don't want to eat it. So once you get that off of there, you have this nice, consistent, beautiful little piece of meat here. So that's whitetail. We're gonna set that aside. And then, if you're at all like me, you're gonna have large, dumb animals that come into the kitchen with a knife down. They love this stuff. They can get it. I'm not gonna. Yes. Crusher. That's what you got.
Whoa, watch out, Walter! That one could be for you.
So I'm going to burn through this and cut off all the silver skin of all these different cuts before we start prepping it for the frying pan. So one thing I find interesting as I cut up on this goat versus the deer is that the goat seems to have a lot more fat interwoven into the muscle, whereas the deer has virtually zero fat ingrained into the muscle. It also has a different texture. I'm trying to think what that would be like. It's different. I'd say probably mostly like beef compared to the deer. Is very smooth, but you can see those different muscle fibers in the goat. So we'll see if that makes a difference. next step we got going on here, we're going to flour the meat, dip it in an egg bath, roll it in breadcrumbs with a little sprinkle of Creole seasoning in there, and throw it in the frying pan, good old-fashioned cast iron. So we're going to do that with everything except one piece, so we have a control sample to all this meat here, and see how. Okay, so those Brussels sprouts that we started a while back, to every one of these little morsels, what used to be a healthy, nutritious vegetable into a fattening, delicious vegetable. Or a lot of garlic, some might say. A little brown sugar. As if the olive oil and brown sugar wasn't fattening and ruined all the nutritional value of this in the first place, I like to take my little friend butter and drizzle a little bit of honey on there. Try and bump up those carbs with this dish here. Perfect. That almost looks like a dessert. Oh. Are ready to go in for 400 degrees, and we give them about 20 minutes. We are going to start with our meat. I'm going to take a plain old piece of each one, throw it in there just to cook it before we give it a whirl. Handy dandy plate here to put it on so we know which one it is. One of the most common problems that people have when cooking game meat is they overcook it. I eat mine almost raw. And especially when you're cooking in oil like this, it's best to pull it out before you think it's done, because that oil is going to sit on that meat even after you take it out and continue to cook it a little bit more. Okay, those Brussels sprouts are done. The oven's yelling at me to get them out. Take a look and see what we got here. Oh yeah, nice and caramely. Except I don't have a place to put it. So we'll set it right here for a second and get back to you. Okay folks, so tonight we're gonna play a little game called Guess Who's in My Mouth. My lovely assistant and wife, Mallory, is preparing me a plate. Tonight, on this episode of Guess Who's in My Mouth, Season 1, Episode 1, we're going to compare, in a blind taste test, a bull I shot last year, the bull I shot this year, a buck I shot 2 years ago, and a mountain goat I shot a month ago. So, I've never had mountain goat before today. Don't know what to expect. Stay tuned for Guess Who's in My Mouth. And we're back.
All right. Here's number 1. Any idea? You're not going to give any hints of what you think it might be?
No, because I don't want to make myself look stupid.
Oh, because I did.
That tastes very.
That's what it is
It's
about.
very, very common, and we eat a lot of elk meat, so I'm inclined to think that's elk.
Okay. Yeah, you have to give something, because... Okay, that's number 2. Because I said what I thought. So, the real test is testing your knowledge. I guess your taste buds.
That's the one that I noticed a slight difference in the aftertaste, and it's chewier, so I think that's goat.
Okay, number 3. Mm-hmm.
That's elk.
Okay, then number... Are you sure?
I'm still got something in my mouth here.
Oh. Need some water? Give me water.
Mm-mm.
Oh.
Give it to me.
Okay. You get what you asked for. That's number 4.
That's deer.
Damn.
Did I nail it?
You freaking nailed it.
Grand slammed it?
Woo! How?
Oh, wait a minute. Whoa.
What?
The first bite.
Oh, you're going to do the 20 or 21 bowl. I can get you another piece.
The first bite was my bowl from this year. The other piece of elk was my bowl from last year.
You're a cheater. You had it seen it.
That's all I eat. Bam. Who's in my mouth champion?
Yeah, I really suck.
Running champion at this point. Thanks for watching along. Don't forget to like, subscribe, find us on Facebook and Instagram. Catch you next time.